And just like that, they buy it. They eat it up. You pander to them, you thank them. I mean, really, people, I thought you were a little bit smarter than that. I mean, it's just so easy to say the name of the city. You cheer.
Hey, Stephanie,
you cheer. I mean, just come on.
Welcome to the A Show.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show with the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcasts. This is episode 130. I am Justin, here with Meelz. We are back. I was gonna ask you what's up, and you went a long rant about it last week, so I was just like, how do I?
Yeah, I don't know what's up. It's just for life. This is life. So I don't know what to say anymore. We've been doing the show for weeks in this format. Actually, we've been doing the show in years for this format, but just not in these certain situations. But still, I mean, we're here. We're doing our damn thing. Life is taking some interesting turns as of late. But yeah, I mean, we're all adapting as always. That's all I can say.
Bigly adapting. As we are stepping into another week of quarantine, I hope you guys are all being safe and staying safe and trying not to go crazy. It was a crazy weekend. We had Easter, of course. My birthday was on Thursday, Meelz.
Oh yeah, how was that?
It was weird. It was very weird. It rained all day, which of course doesn't matter because we didn't go outside. But
right.
I had a great spread of Filipino food, which was amazing. Had a cake made for me because we couldn't actually go to Baker's because they're not doing anything right now out here either. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake a lot, which I'm having a blast with. I'm taking it very slowly, and I played a lot of Animal Crossing. So I mean, I had a pretty damn good birthday.
Well, listen, I don't know what to say. I can't relate. My birthday's in February before all this madness happened. So hopefully by next February, we won't be in the same situation where I'll be trying to figure out what the hell to do with my birthday, even though I don't do anything anyway.
We got a lot of news this week about not only WWE in Florida, but also Brawl for All. Let's talk about that first before we get into
let's talk about Brawl for All. There was an episode. Yeah, go ahead. You know what? Let me talk about this. Because I was very interested in this. So last week, of course, the Dark Side of the Ring, new episode, as they dropping every Tuesday night apparently, but new episode centered around the Brawl for All, which to me, initially in terms of watching this, I was just like, Brawl for All? Really? Like, this is what we're making it? Because a lot of their episodes are just very dark about you talk about the Fabulous Moolah. I actually binge watch a lot of their season. I know you did too. You binge watch quite a bit of it, and I did it right after you did. And I watched the Fabulous Moolah one. I watched the Montreal Screw Job. I watched New Jack, which was terrifying.
Did you watch the Macho Man one?
I did watch the Macho Man one. That was sad. One was sad.
Super sad.
That one was like a heartbreaking story. Honestly, I watched all of them. Yeah, once again, New Jack one was terrifying. Seeing people getting stabbed in the ring, not my type of tea. I think that's Cyrus time or something. But it's watching Brawl for All and kind of like, okay, what came up with the idea? I think it was generally the episode wasn't as dark. I mean, the worst thing is that someone kind of got out of a job. I guess it was more so the CTE Open Invitational Tournament.
Well, I actually optioned the Cyrus that we watch this, or someone on Twitter optioned that we watch this for spot callers, and I think that's something that we're probably going to look into doing because it is fascinating to talk about that and kind of see it in person. Because I think honestly, and I think I told you this too, when these segments came up on Raw, I turned to Nitro. I wasn't into it when I was a kid.
I think this was legitimately right before I started watching WWE full time. There had been periods where I've definitely watched WWE before 1999, maybe 1998 or so. But largely, once again, I was into Nitro as well. Just because the NWO was kind of everywhere and doing everything at the same time. They had Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone doing the damn thing. So I was definitely tuned in. But in terms of Brawl for All, I kind of watched it on my rewatch of the network as the network was growing, maybe 2015, 2016. And I was just like, I'm just going to binge every Raw ever. I watched it and I was like, what the hell was the inspiration for this? And this whole, Dark Side of the Ring episode kind of talks about it, and it ends up being more of like a blame game on like whose terrible idea was this, as opposed to like why did this even exist? Because you had the players involved, and let's talk about the players involved, because we had Vince Russo,
oh Lord,
we had Jim Cornette, and we had Jim Ross, and I was just like, I don't even know which direction the cap is coming from at this point.
It's a lot of cap, and I feel like, to be honest with you, like this is my greatest issue with Dark Side of the Ring, is that they feature these two a lot, and a lot of this show is I wouldn't say it's like a hit piece on the WWF, WWE, like, because a lot of history happens around this company, but like it's these two going at each other. It happens in the Montreal Screwjob episode too. It happens again here on the Brawl for All episode, where it's Cornette and Russo bickering back and forth through talking head segments at each other.
Yeah.
And it's very weird. Like, I'm not necessarily a Vince Russo fan and not necessarily a Cornette fan. I actually hate that Cornette is such an asshole and such a like, bigoted and such a lightning rod for controversy, because he actually is quite funny. But I just know, what type of guy he is. But it's like, that was my major thing that took me out of this episode. Between that, again, Jim Ross, like, I feel like a lot of wrestling, you can't frame these types of shows with these characters. I mean, it's the same thing with the Benoit episode, because they all have ulterior motives.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ego involved in wrestling, and as much as there is in the ring, there is behind the scenes, which is kind of like what was on full display on this episode, because these guys are legitimately like, and this was my idea because I wanted to see JBL get punched in the face, and this is why I did the entire thing. And then you have Jim Cornette on the other side, like, oh, this guy doesn't care about the sanctity of wrestling, and if I could see him today, I would punch him in the face and keep punching him over and over, and I happily die. No one could go to his grave. And you have all these egos. So you have all these egos that are being fed by wrestling fans and wrestling lore and people wanting to know a lot more about this information, that they're kind of like, I guess they're the truth sayers, they're the storytellers, all these type of things. So they have all these information, and their ego kind of feeds so much on it. So now, not only are they just telling the story, but they're grandstanding. They're like, they're taking it over the top. They're telling all these stories about this and that and doing this. And I wanted to see JBL this way. And I just want, and now it becomes sort of this overblown, as what would be initially a terrible decision. Like this, in terms of the entire thing, you have a terrible decision. Now becomes like this back and forth between Cornette and Russo. And then they also like wedged in this story about Draws, right? Who just is the first time I've seen him in quite some time.
Very different guy. And again, the actual documentary or this episode of Dark Side of the Ring takes you through all of Brawl for All and all the players. I think they managed to get damn near everyone minus like Savio Vega. Yeah, like they got everyone pretty much, all the major players there that can speak to. I think everyone who's not like a active WWE Hall of Fame contract holder, was able to be on it. But I thought it was super interesting from that standpoint. And like Meelz, like you said, the draws part was like, it was heartbreaking because he looks so different. And I understand, yes, he is older. I understand, yes, he hasn't been able to move, but like it's so crazy to see what something that goes wrong in the ring can alter your whole life and your whole path.
Right. And this is kind of what I feel like. Well, I feel like what the Brawl was trying to say, even though they kind of like it became more of a personality thing. There were just so much. The incident with Draws, I did my phone on Do Not Disturb. I didn't find out until like legitimately like way after the fact, because I do remember thinking like, oh, I remember this guy. And I'm like, whoa, that happened? Didn't realize it until like maybe like 2005 when I got internet message boards. But I was like, whoa, that happened. Like, it's really, I mean, that side, I know they probably couldn't do an entire episode about it because it's kind of like, it's this thing that happened. He got in, you know, you puke, yeah, puke. Like, and that entire thing, which was crazy to see. I've never seen that clip in my life.
You ever seen Beyond the Mat?
I don't think so, or I don't remember it.
It's on Netflix. Go watch Beyond the Mat.
I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember it. There's a lot of things I've seen once, but that was crazy just in general, and seeing, you know. But I think overall, I mean, yes, it was a terrible idea. Brawl for All was a terrible idea. There's a lot of careers that could have been compromised by this. The only one that was truly compromised was the winner, because apparently people did not want him to win. People wanted Dr. Death Steve Williams to come out, and I'm just like, what?
Well, that was my issue too. It was that I feel like JR was still being a little bit self-righteous and disingenuous about his relationship with Dr. Death and how far he was really going to go. But it also kind of steeps in the question of like, was JR, you know, being the guy in talent relations at the time, was he going to make sure Dr. Death was the guy? You know, like, what was he going to slot him in that position if he hadn't have gotten injured? And, you know, it was a tough break for him, so to speak, during the Brawl for All when he went up against Bart Gunn. But at the end of the day, like, it's almost, we're going 20 plus years on this, and he's still very mad about it. And that seeps through in this documentary as well. And I think, you know, there has to be someone that's telling the truth about these things. And I admire and appreciate JR being there for these stories, and I wonder how he's going to talk about the Owen Hart one in episodes to come. I believe that's going to be the season finale of this season. But I also kind of question, when his best interests were in mind or at heart at that time, will he actually tell the truth too?
Yeah, no, you gotta. I mean, this is, to me, has always been I don't say the issue with the wrestling business, but when people tell a story, there never seems to be like one actual side in terms of what happened. It's always multiple things and how everyone perceives it, as opposed to kind of like the solid truth of like, this is the thing that occurred. Because we'll have so many stories. We'll listen to Punk on a podcast 6 years ago tell this entire story, and then we'll kind of find out like these things are kind of like overblown just based on like passion that he had and like the ego that he felt, and like how his relation in terms of everybody else, and how, you know, all these other different things. So it's just, you know, just interesting storytelling. I'm liking Dark Side of the Ring, though. I think it's a show that's necessary to continue to prove that, like, first of all, beyond that, there are like terrible things that happen in professional wrestling, which is
awful things.
One of the things.
The amount of deaths alone in these episodes is like heartbreaking and wrenching, because a lot of people these days are not like that. Like, you know, people make jokes that, oh, all these people do in the backstage is play video games. I'm glad. You know, I'm very glad that all they're doing is going on Twitch and playing video games. I'm cool with that. Yeah,
100%. Because what everyone else was doing back in the day, I mean, it's just wow. Like, that's all I can say. That's all I can say.
Crazy shit. So speaking of crazy shit, something else happened.
Wrestling Twitter After Dark.
Wrestling Twitter. Can we? Just a quick.
That's a future Dark Side of the Ring episode waiting to happen.
Just a quick thing here. Y'all talking about fighting. Y'all talking about running up on people, but then you on Wrestling Twitter After Dark with your shirt off, showing off your chest, dropping the OnlyFans link, all that shit. Come on, man. What are y'all? What kind of breed is y'all, man?
This is day 32. I'm just like, is this the human? Is this how humans adapt to quarantine? Like, suddenly, like, now everyone's horny. This is how it happens.
People was like, y'all horny. I'm like, this horny?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, nah, we couldn't have gone this far. This is ridiculous. Like, how did we get this far?
Put the clothes back on, please. Just wear the wrestling tees, bro. Like, this not.
I might rather the takes than what's going on here. As you can
threaten me again, or something. Just threaten me. I would rather you do that than what the hell y'all was doing last night with Wrestling Twitter After Dark. But I mean, another dark thing that happened last week was Ronday Rousey's comments on the WWE fans and why she wasn't going to be coming back. She went on record saying that WWE fans were very ungrateful to her and all the things that she did during her year run in the company nearly 2 years ago, and that she's not coming back. She would rather stay at home with her family and people that appreciate her. Of course, as with everything, and we're going to get to this as well in our next story, wrestling Twitter blew the hell up. You had Nia Jax on one end being shady. You had Alexa Bliss not appreciating these comments. You had, I think, Mark Henry stepped in and said something about it. But everyone had an opinion. All this did was really rile up the people that, whether it be Diva stands, Four Horsewomen stands, women's wrestling stands, who were just chomping at the bit to kind of take away I'll say, like, not only the legitimacy that Ronda did bring as far as marketability of this, the women's division, which they needed at the time, but also just really what she contributed to in-ring. Like, I saw a lot of disrespectful comments to her. Whether you like what she said or not, I think these were fake comments. I'm pretty sure, Meelz, you probably think so too. You can't deny what she brought to the company.
I feel like there's an ounce of truth in these comments, and while the majority of it is like, okay, I think it's a work, but I do think there's an ounce of truth in these comments because it doesn't. Here's how I'll say it. There's no way, in my opinion, I've seen multiple people react, and it's not just wrestling fans. They're wrestlers themselves, and they're the women's locker room themselves. There's no way I can believe that Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, Charlotte at one point, all these other, so many people can sort of react to the things that she says if they truly didn't believe that it was coming from a real place from Ronday Rousey.
Right.
Because I've seen clips for days, I've seen conversations for days. So there's a part of me that believes there is some actual legitimate real tension, especially for the fact that they're still out there doing their thing and she's at home, but she got the cushy contract. Don't get me wrong, they would love to start families as well. They would love to be with their family. They would love to be able to be afforded that opportunity, but they're writing. You chose to come in this world. They didn't beg for you. They didn't ask for you. They were kind of okay with where you were in sports itself and what you represented, but you chose to come in this world, and now you're, saying all these things in response to it. And I personally, if I were them, would take offense to it. Like, you're throwing around the fake word, which is, yes, wrestling, predetermined, fake. Let's just say it. Wrestling at this point, it's not a real sport. Duh. It's entertainment. Duh. It's actually been entertainment since it started. Duh. Newsflash. However, I think just in general, like, you throwing around that word to incite a reaction from people might be, to me, it's like the cheapest heel heat that you can get. You throwing that. I think it's like so bottom tier. Like, there's creative ways, if this is a work, for people to hate you. There are ways you can show up. That's one thing, and they'll probably hate you. But this is so like low totem, bottom of the barrel, insulting the fans by it, and also kind of insulting their attention and their intelligence. Because we watched you.
Let's be real.
I have to say, you were rolling around with them. Like,
they deserve to be disrespected.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that people.
Some of these ungrateful fans do deserve to be disrespected.
Oh yes, they're super ungrateful, and yes, they deserve to be respected and disrespected in one way or another. Or they don't deserve the respect, as you're not giving them respect. You can only kind of reciprocate what you want from them. So, but I think just in general for her, it's so like bottom tier to me, in my opinion.
It's cheap heat.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's super cheapy, and it's not. The thing is, it's not even good cheap heat. That's what's the word. It's like, you're calling wrestling fake. I was like, oh my god, yeah, but it's like, make people hate you in a stronger way. Yeah,
they already hate her. This is also kind of, it's like a work shoot thing that I think that Ronda might have gone off of her own and did anyway without anyone kind of coaxing her to do it, which is even more funny.
Because who's going to check her? Yeah, who's going to check her? To be honest with you,
and it's stupid. And I think she's trying to keep up her storyline while she waits. Like, people are speculating, oh, she's not coming back. I'm like, this is more proof that she absolutely is. She's just trying to stay hot.
She 100% is. Yeah, she is.
Because she's not around. But I think that, in the end, it's something that people shouldn't be like so emotional. Like, I can understand the workers being upset. Absolutely, Meelz. But as somebody at home, what the fuck do you care? You already know what this is. You already know, like, again, like, people are getting so in their feelings about something that, to me, I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. And then I just kind of went about it, but people were getting very much in their feelings about this. And I'm like, listen, guys, this was the character she was portraying before she left, before she got beat by Becky at Mania. Like, this was what she was doing and saying. Remember, she made that live stream or something where she was like going off like the week before Mania.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a continuation of that. Like, I don't understand what's the purpose of still being upset about this is for.
I'm interested in kind of like, I legitimately think everyone's reaction to this is their genuine, real reaction to it. I'm not talking about from the fans, but just from the workers. Yes, I think probably from the fans itself. But I'm in the same boat as you from a fan reaction to it. I'm truly not really pressed by it. I see it. I'm like, wow, that was kind of whack, in my opinion. I was just like, that's kind of whack. Like, you can get heat in a different way. Yeah. But other than that, like, I think it's part of the story, and I think Monday proved it even a little bit more often. Or maybe it's just, Paul Heyman doing his thing.
No,
but
Paul's good.
I think
Paul's good.
Yeah, I think 100% Ronda's coming back at some point in the future. It's going to set up for something major, hopefully, or maybe it was supposed to happen already, and because of the situation that we're in, it's just not happening. Who knows? The story behind this is all very interesting. I think the story behind her signing, her year wrestling, why she chose to kind of leave for a prolonged period of time, and when she's actually coming back is an interesting story that I would love to hear one day.
I'm pretty sure WWE has cameras on her ranch already. Let's just be clear. Like, the way they shot that Edge thing, I was like, they've been like, the Edge thing started as something and ended as something else. Like, how insane is that? Like I'm pretty sure they have cameras there.
Yeah, 100%.
But speaking of more things that have people in their feelings this week,
you're just killing it with the segues this week.
Hey, listen, I've been practicing, bro. WWE and the governor of Florida, or the governor of Florida has came out yesterday and deemed the WWE as a essential business or essential media. And allowed them to continue to film their shows live in Orlando at the PC. Of course, that came hot on the news of WWE announcing that they were going to go, or it was rather a rumor that was confirmed true to be on Monday, that the shows would stop being taped and go back to being live. That was kind of the precursor to that announcement that the governor said. And people were upset about it. You got people digging up receipts on Linda McMahon. You got people digging up how much contribution she made and stuff like that.
Can I read Governor DeSantis's DeSantis? I don't know. Can I read a statement?
Please.
He says, obviously WWE, there's no crowd, so it's a small number of people. We look at it on a case-by-case basis. We haven't had a huge amount of requests. A lot of this will be what we do look like in May rather than stuff we do now. One thing I do support is that we need to support content, especially sports and events. We're not going to have crowds there. I get that. If NASCAR does a race and can televise it, I think that's a good thing. I like to see Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson golf. That's social distance. I think people are starved for content. We haven't had new content since the middle of March. Mind you, it's the middle of April. If people are told to stay closer to the house, it sure does help to have fresh things to do. People are chomping at the bit. I think to be able to have the light at the end of the tunnel and see things get on a better course, I think from a psychological perspective is a good thing. First of all, there's nothing from this mayor that I've seen in regards to how he's been handling the situation that has been promising, especially the early days of this thing, where he was just like, we're gonna like kind of close, but not really. And I was
he's
just like,
violent.
yeah.
He's violent. Let me just say, he's wilding. But should we be punishing Vince and them for capitalizing on the fact that he's wilding? Absolutely not.
No, I think WWE made a case that they were essential, or that they could continue to run operations in a safe place. And granted, I think this is once again this discretion of a governor that I truly don't have faith in. So whatever his discretion is, it's a little bit slighted, but I don't think it's ultimately their fault that they pitched it. It could have easily went somewhere. I think if they pitched this in New York, the Governor Cuomo would have said, like, you are on crack. Yeah. If you think you're going to hold shows, yes, you can have it in a controlled environment, but at the same time, it looks terrible because we're looking at stopping a pandemic now, and we don't even want people with each other or kind of even promoting that activity. Whereas the Florida governor is like, yo, whatever. I haven't seen NBA since middle of March, man. Y'all really complaining that we get in wrestling? I don't even know if he watches wrestling. He might be Mark. Who knows?
But this really turned into something else.
Well,
right?
I was talking about this since the beginning of the thing, like the ethical. So is it truly ethical for them to still be continuing shows in the middle of a pandemic? Like, is it safe for the performers? Is it safe for them? And people have been reacting to this for quite some time, even before Mania. They were like, should Mania still go on? And people were like, oh, it should be postponed. It should be thing. But ultimately they did it, and it turned out great. But continue what you were saying in terms of the people's reaction to this.
Yeah, the people's reaction has been obviously rabid. I mean, a lot more rabid than usual. Listen, of course, we all know that it is definitely risky to be filming shows live, but I think WWE was covering their tracks, or attempting to, last week. I think like they announced literally last week that they are changing the ropes, changing the mats, requiring talent to wear masks during between every working section that they do, and basically testing everyone that comes in while they do this show live. I think that's another thing that the mayor did say, was that they were taking all of the precautions to make sure that everyone was safe. And, that's something that we got to hang our hats on, to be like, hey, if the performers are choosing to go, why are we mad at the governor? Any of this, like, if they don't want to go, we've seen the reports from Meltzer and Satin and Sean and everyone. They're not going to be punished if they don't go. But how come on every one of these shows, the only people I see not there is Roman Reigns and all of the talent from Japan?
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's kind of been my thing about this as well, right? Like, I don't know if WWE fans feel like WWE is forcing these people to do things, but you don't really have to do it, right? Like, I think your employer would understand that, okay, this is kind of a thing. Like, if you're essential service, you're essential service. I think now they have more of a reason to be like, okay, everyone is required to come in because the government has granted us like an essential thing. Right. But I think just in general, like, I don't know if they don't believe that people from the WWE, especially superstars, are going to say, like, I don't want to compete in this sort of like situation. I don't want to do things in this sort of situation. I don't feel like I should be there and have an appropriate response from, management, or one of the rather. There are definitely people that we have not seen on the show. There are people who've not shown up. They're not required for tapings. If they are taping this, which apparently they're doing on they're doing it like live-esque, I guess. I don't know.
I don't really know to the extent of how live the show was.
Yeah, it doesn't look like to be actually live. It looks like maybe like taped earlier or something.
Yeah, like we don't really know the schedule because, again, WWE is not releasing the schedule. But again, let's just keep it to brass tacks. A lot of the people in those buildings that are performing don't give a shit. Like, I'm sorry.
They would rather be wrestling.
Yeah, they'd rather be out. Like, I look at some of these people. I follow Rick Sherman on Instagram. This motherfucker's outside all the time. Still, no mask. What am I supposed to say? What if he's gonna choose to put his life in danger? He could definitely say no, right? Like, these people are saying no. Why can't we just get to the point where, and this goes on both sides. Like I'm holding both companies that are still doing shows at the flame here. Like, because AEW did months of content, sure, that's great, that's awesome. But when they come back in May and have to do it again, are they gonna get the same scrutiny as well? Because WWE deserves scrutiny, right, and so does AEW. And in fact, there was a motherfucker, who was it? Cody was in the fucking ring. Yo, we ain't about to be scared of this shit. Like, what?
No, I think just in general, I think just overall, I think they're doing, I don't want to say they're doing the right thing. If I were WWE, I would probably, if I were in charge of things, I would probably be like, all right, let's cool down. Like, we may need to cool down. This isn't serious business. But if they're managing to operate a safe system and they're doing it safely and assurance from the talent themselves who are wrestling, I'm sure would rather wrestle. Because one of, I talked to someone most recently who was just like, it actually hurts not wrestling because their bodies are hurting and like all the adrenaline is worn off and all these other things like that. I mean, they're getting their rest and they're having fun time with their family, but at the same time, it's like they would probably prefer to be wrestling at this point. However, I think if WWE's taking the right precautions and they're doing the damn thing, who are kind of us to sort of, step on that? They're doing the right thing. They're making sure all the precautions are taken. The WWE superstars themselves seem to be okay with whatever is going on. I think if they were conflicted, we'd be seeing a lot more different type of tweets than we do now.
Oh, thank you. I was just about to say that you'd be seeing a lot of tweet. Like, that's what they do now, is like tweets. Like, listen, if they don't want to go, they're not forcing them to go. They're not going to go. But from the looks of Raw on Monday, it was a lot of them there. And it was all working. So, what more can we glean from this? I'm not gonna look into. Listen, everyone's fucked up on both on every angle from this. WWE's fucked up. Florida's fucked up. But also, you gotta look at this. The talent's fucked up too. Because somebody was saying, I saw somebody say, bro, they need to stage a mass walkout. They're not gonna stage a mass walkout. They don't care.
I think that, if they would have, they could. They would have if they wanted to, but yeah, they're not going to. I just feel like this isn't a situation where WWE is forcing them to do something against their will. In my opinion, these people look complicit in terms of the things that are going on.
Yeah. And let's not forget that they announced that March 29th that they found out that someone on their talent actually did have it. They haven't announced who it was or who it is, but they, apparently they've gotten through it and that person's fine now.
Yeah, you're right. So
I don't know.
I get everyone's hang up, but I think at this point, whatever's happening is happening now. I think WWE superstars are to an extent complicit in terms of everything that's going on because they are performing every week. And I think we shouldn't necessarily shit on them or try to think their time as they're out here trying to put on the best show to entertain us through this time. I don't think if there's anybody that should receive your hate, it's the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yes.
In my opinion,
thank you.
It is his, and just the general. If I can go on my Eric Abris type of mode, the general United States government, who has been doing a terrible job in handling the situation, including those fascist. That's a big Eric quote right there.
I'll tell him you said that.
Yes, please. I support free Eric. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's really where I stand now. If you want to get on us for watching wrestling, I'm sorry. We're going to continue to watch it, and I think that everyone complaining is too. So there's that.
We should talk about the wrestling that we watched this week.
Yes, we are. Friday Night Smackdown last week. I didn't think it was terrible. It wasn't a terrible show. I thought it had some fun matches.
I thought it was interesting based on I looked, they apparently taped the Raw after WrestleMania before, whatever the set of tapings are or something along those lines. So everything that you kind of saw was WrestleMania happened. Kind of.
Yeah.
All the in-ring action was
They've been low key showing, like, you know how they do the stills? They've been showing whole ass sections from these matches for WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, Fox get the content. Fox got 3 WWE 24s going tonight, or like Ruthless Aggression docs. ESPN getting WrestleManias. WWE's just handing out content to show. It's like, oh, you need content? Oh, we got Andreas. We actually create our own content and have our own performance center and actually do a lot of things that all these sports things don't actually do.
What are the... Let's see what the big takeaways are here. We had Braun. We had Braun Nakamura. Really quick. I think both champions were in action on their respective shows this week, which was pretty cool. Braun faced Nakamura on a pretty solid, if not short, match, which led to a Firefly Funhouse vignette. Yes, we are putting the Fiend back in the title contention. How do you feel about this, especially if you think you're going to hotshot the belt right back to Bray?
I think the situation is, I'll say about everything in terms of like, okay, do I actually want to see the match itself? No, I don't want to see any. I don't want to put any part of this ugly thing at all. I do think it's an interesting program because of both parties who are involved in their past relationships. Braun Strowman was once a disciple of Bray Wyatt and now is the champion. And now Bray Wyatt sees himself. He is the teacher having to, slay his own disciple. But also Braun Strowman is a completely different person than when he was in the Wyatt family. So it creates a kind of interesting dynamic from there. In terms of whether I want to see Bray Wyatt get the title back, oh God, I feel like, Bruce really loves Bray.
You can tell.
And yeah, he really loves Bray. And I think Braun itself. The thing is, Braun Strowman's a champion, but I don't think anyone really.
It hasn't hit anyone.
No, not at all. Not even close. Like, he's a champion, and I'm seeing him with the belt, and I'm like, but when is he going to lose it?
Like, who's
We're counting the
it?
days.
And honestly,
yeah, we're kind of more so counting the days.
When you think about it, Bray's the only one that can realistically, him and Roman are going to be the only ones doing it. And I mean, Roman has announced himself he's not coming back until all of this COVID stuff is gone. So we're not going to be seeing Roman for the foreseeable future. He's gone again. He's gone again. But what a weird career, for him. Like the stops and starts for Roman Reigns, right? Like, since he's begun. Stops and starts. Like, do you think this is gonna like hinder his Hall of Fame odds or like hinder the conversation around him as we go on? Because no, I'll say this: I don't see anyone changing their mind about him if they didn't already hate him.
Here's the thing: you will never be able to. Roman Reigns is. I'll start off with this. Roman Reigns is damn good. So you can never doubt how good he is. He is one of the best that WWE has. He's great with timing. He's great with action. He's great with the things. But you'll never truly be able to kind of put him in that conversation, right? Like with the Cenas, with the Austins, with the Rocks, with the Triple H's. You'll never be able to put him in there, maybe because of these start and stops, quite honestly. These whole like will be, won't be, is he the guy, is he not the guy? You know when someone's the guy. You know when someone is a person that you want to run with. I think Braun Strowman. Well, Braun Strowman is definitely not the guy. But Roman Reigns himself, you'll never doubt Roman Reigns, but I don't know if he'll ever be in that top tier conversation, to be honest.
No, I mean, people turned around on Cena. Turned around on Cena. No, I don't see that same type of turnaround for Roman in 10 years. I really don't.
I do, but I still don't see him in the conversations with the elites, just as of right now.
And
he's not in the elite.
And Roman came up in an era, let's be clear, he came up in an era where the internet discourse and internet wrestling discourse was at its peak when he was coming up. So he faced a lot more scrutiny, but it was more visible because everyone is on a social media now. Cena, it was like message boards and a bunch of like neckbeards who beat off in their mom's basements.
Wow,
Roman was like
wrestling Twitter after dark.
Roman is literally like, and again, like I don't blame him for not showing up because he is, he is compromised to this disease. But like, I think that it's just it just sucks so much that he's never got a sustained, continuous run. Last time he did, he had a run, wellness violation. First time he had to run, they had to take it off him again. Like it's just, or remember the first time he was going to get a run, he had the hernia thing before Survivor Series.
But here's the thing too. I mean, don't get me wrong, The Rock was immensely popular, but The Rock had also a similar run himself, where it was very like, we putting the belt on him, but then we got to put it back on Austin. We putting the belt on him, but then we got to do Triple H because we left the chase a little bit more, and then we put the belt on him. He's never really had a sustained run either, but we kind of, I think The Rock's whole legacy is changed by, I guess, how he kind of broke pop culture, and all the other stuff, which I don't think Roman Reigns will be able to do unless he's like, 5 years, I'm out for movies, which he has said that he's going to do.
Roman should go into movies. Like it.
I mean, at this point, I think he should be considering that. At this point, I think Becky Lynch is the franchise player for WWE. She is someone who I see currently in the conversation with the greats of all time, because his run has just been history making, and kind of just, we'll talk about it on Raw, but it's just incredible. But yeah, this is supposed to be about Braun Strowman and Bray, but I had to pivot to Roman because I don't find a lot of,
I like, again, like you said, I like the promos and where they could go story wise, but I know the match at Money in the Bank is going to stink, and if they're going to put it right back on, they're going to put it right back on Bray, then what was the point of putting it on Braun? But if you're going to beat Bray or put him in a position where he has to be beaten and you don't pull through with it, don't do it. They're running to the same set thing. They just don't have a crowd this time.
No, they don't. I mean, I think Goldberg was like, I'm out. I'm not even competing on this. He's like, get me out of here. I am non-complicit in this entire ordeal. So maybe they just really...
Goldberg wanted Roman. Like Goldberg even said they really could have filmed the Roman Goldberg match, but last minute they pulled out of it.
Yeah, you're right. Poor Goldberg. I think he's the big loser in all of this, right?
They had that at the end of the show between Bray and Braun. We also had more Sasha Banks and Bayley teasing, and now Tamina is in that storyline. What'd you feel about the constant manipulation of Sasha by Bayley?
I think it's an interesting. Who knew that Bayley would be more evil than Sasha Banks, right? Like,
I love it.
The Bayley role you'd expect for Sasha Banks, but it's completely on a different foot, and it kind of actually makes you wonder, like, could Bayley even be more evil than Sasha Banks? Like, could she be even more scummy than what Sasha Banks ever was in her history, just based on like this internal scumminess that she's been really pulling off and do all this other thing? She's a jerk. Like, there's no bones about it. But I love to see where the story's going. The Tamina thing as well is an interesting kind of side quest. That's all I can describe this thing as, because it's Tamina. However,
Tamina's delivery of "sis, your best friend's playing," had me weak.
Why'd you say it like that?
Sis.
Oh my God.
What else happened? What else happened on SmackDown?
The Forgotten Sons.
Forgotten
Sons. Got a call up.
What a silent call up for the Forgotten Sons.
What a stark difference from Bianca Belair, right? Bianca Belair is like, oh man, she's got everything that we need. And then you go on SmackDown, like, I wonder who they're calling up. Could it be Ciampa? Could it be Gargano? Could it be who could it be? And then you see like Forgotten Sons coming up and up next, and you're just like, God, it would be Forgotten Sons on SmackDown, wouldn't it? How do you feel like their career arc will go on the main roster as opposed to NXT? I feel like in these situations where these tag teams don't have much success in NXT, they go on to do like amazing things on the main roster, kind of. But do you think Forgotten Sons can do it?
They're Bruce's kind of guys. No, I'm just playing. Let me be clear here and just on the record apologize and admit that I was wrong. A couple of months ago, I was like, hey, like, these guys have never said or done anything MAGA. How about we wait until they do it before we start calling them MAGA? And then, they of course did that. So I didn't do anything wrong. I just want to say that I was not right. And a lot of people will say that I never admit that I was wrong here. As far as where they're going on the main roster, they will probably be getting beaten in matches between partners that don't get along, but have a match in 4 weeks at the pay-per-view.
I think they're benefiting from the fact that there's no crowd there.
Oh yeah, because if they would have got called up, SmackDown after Mania, it's over with.
Crickets. It would have been crickets. Also on SmackDown, we're going to get a triple threat tag team title match. Once again, we're kind of getting the polar opposite of what we got at WrestleMania, which I think is an interesting way to flip this program in a way. Like it was interesting how these circumstances led to it being a regular singles triple threat match. And now we're kind of like making a whole program out of it, because the Miz will have to defend the tag team championships in a triple threat match against, I believe this is Jey Uso and Big E this week. Is it this week?
Yeah, it's this week.
It's this week on SmackDown, which I think is an interesting touch. I like it. We had a women's tag team championship match, which I thought was great in terms of establishing Bliss and Cross. I don't know where this goes for them. It doesn't seem to be.
It goes to Dana and Dana and Carmella. They challenged for the belts.
Forgot about those ladies. Yeah. They legitimately was like, "Can we have one?" And they were like, and they was like, "Please." And then it was like, "Okay." And I was like, "All right, that's how we're doing it."
Nice, simple, and effective story.
We weren't on WrestleMania. We would love to challenge for your belts. Oh, of course. Why not? And then the Ziggler, Sonya, Mandy, Otis thing is still going. I like Sonya and Dolph. I like their. She's a good heater for Dolph if they chose to go that route.
Yeah, I think that again, I think Dolph might be biting off a little bit more he can chew if he's trying to go after Sonya. You feel me? But Mandy and Otis.
How dare you?
I rock with it. I rock with it. I rock with it. I like it.
We're gonna get the mixed tag match at Money in the Bank, and I think I'm gonna like it. I think I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, well, this week on SmackDown we get Mandy and Sonya face to face, so we'll see where that leads us. We have Money in the Bank qualifiers next week for SmackDown. We have Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan. I think that was the only one that they announced, because Raw went crazy with the announcements this week. But
yeah, SmackDown's doing things a little bit more conservatively. Raw says we're going to do 3 women this week, and then we're going to do the 3 men next week, which kind of makes sense. But on SmackDown this week, we're apparently getting Naomi versus Dana Brooke too, which surprised the shit out of me, because
I thought they were going for the title. Okay, whatever.
Well, that's what I said. That's legitimately what I said. So what? I don't know. Something got crossed up. But we'll see what happens this Friday on SmackDown. Looks like It's going to be a good show.
Let's go to Raw and close this joint out. Raw was really good. I'm not going to lie to you.
Again, why would we? And we had the hot take last week of like, why do people like Raw or Heyman much better than Bruce? And it's like, have you seen this show?
Yeah, have you heard it? Like, have you seen what they do in this closed? I literally on Raw forget that there's no crowd, mostly because probably I'm trying to I'm trying to tune out the King, so I'm really more so listening to Todd Phillips. But they just handle things a lot better on Raw. Like, did you notice on Raw, or did you enjoy the fact that like the Zelina Vega stable is now a powerhouse stable in the show? And it's like, I really dug it.
Right. No, I 100%. I mean, I don't know if you saw my tweets on Raw, but I love that they were throughout the show establishing them, beating down their opponents, establishing their dominance. They kicked off at the beginning of the show. All these 2 guys had matches. After each match, they made sure to continue to drive the point home that these guys aren't something to mess with. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was all to feed eventually to Drew, which made Drew look incredible. But they've fully established, like they've made Angel Garza, Andrade, which to me it kind of seemed like, and also Austin Theory, who was officially on Raw, which still boggles my mind. But they've officially made these three guys who kind of seem like they were thrown together, especially the Austin Theory part of this. Kind of seemed like they're thrown together. Angel kind of seemed like something because Andrade was suspended. Austin Theory kind of seemed like something because Andrade was, injured. And they didn't really kind of have a moment to make this kind of work. Well, they did that in one night. So,
yeah.
It's Paul Heyman's Raw, everybody.
Yeah, his Raw is good. And again, you mentioned Austin Theory. He has a match against Aleister Black next week on Raw for the Money in the Bank qualifiers. He keeps getting pitted against people who can make him look good, and they could teach him a lot. I think that the Tommaso Ciampa match he had on NXT a month ago was actually really phenomenal for somebody of his skill level with Ciampa, who's been around for a while. I think nothing less of him going against Aleister Black, who will also give him a lot on the way to a win next week. Also getting Zelina and Aleister kind of finally crossing it up and coming together during a storyline on Raw. I think that's going to be really interesting, but also really cool that they're doing it with no crowd, so they can't take away. They're going to mention the fact that they're married, but with no fans there, no crowd, you'll actually be able to focus on the story and not the fact of the real life implications or whatever between these two working together finally.
Right, 100%.
Speaking of the Money in the Bank qualifiers, we had MVP showing up. They had MVP going through the Rona to go back to work. He will be in a match next week as part of the qualifiers. Of course, we have Murphy versus Rey Mysterio, the aforementioned Aleister Black and Austin Theory, and we have MVP versus Apollo Crews. They are giving Apollo a lot, right?
Yeah. Big trade acquisition from Friday Night SmackDown. So they're really giving, or draft pick, or whatever the hell it was, whatever they made up. But yeah, no, they're giving him a lot. He had a great performance last week. I think he impressed a lot of people, and they decided, okay, let's continue to go with him. He's going to likely be in this Money in the Bank match unless MVP wants to work a couple more dates.
Yeah,
but it looks like a good, at least from the men's side, people who are appropriate, who should be in this type of position, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So,
and again, you look at Raw's roster, they got a good ass roster. Because even Ricochet and Cedric have something to do, and they had a bomb match with the Viking Raiders on Monday as well.
Super bomb, a 10:30 p.m. banger. Like,
even in loss, they looked really good. I mean, it's the Viking Raiders, but even in a loss, they looked very good and very strong against these guys. Yeah. Viking Raiders, first time we've seen them in about a month.
Yeah. Ever since the whole switch over happened, we haven't really seen them. But they're back. They look to establish tag team dominance. They want the tag team titles. They made sure to mention that on the show when the Street Profits, the tag team champions, showed up, and they made sure to drive the point home that the champions have never beaten the Viking Raiders, and they need to step their game up. Shout out to Bianca Belair, who is the realest on the roster, for saying that. But yes, once again, tying the entire tag division through line as well, and making that sort of, even just the mention of that puts Viking Raiders even over a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's just great all over from Raw.
I would love to see a triple threat tag match between the Profits, the Raiders, and Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, who they're calling themselves Bad Boys for life. I like it.
Really?
Yeah, I like it. It's cool. It's cool. I mean, give them something to do.
Yeah, sure.
Give them something to do.
But yeah.
Why not? We also had the women's Money in the Bank qualifiers, and we'll just go through them in a row. Nia Jax versus Kairi Sane, a gentleman squash or a gentlewoman squash of Kairi Sane.
Yeah. Pretty much a squash, yeah.
We also had a actual squash in Shayna Baszler versus Sarah Logan. Do you have a problem with Sarah Logan, or not even Sarah Logan, but Shayna Baszler facing all the women that she beat within seconds a month ago?
Nah, not really. To be honest with you, we're still on the Shayna Baszler train. I mean, she's lost, so it's not like there's nothing that's like, she's not plowing through everyone. She just lost a really big match. So it's kind of like a hard reset for her. Shout out to Mike Rome, who botched that botched that announcement and actually announced Sarah Logan as the winner. And I was like, huh, what?
And then they had they spent a minute clearing it up.
Yeah, it was like, actually, Tom Phillips doing the damn thing. But yes, first of all, Gentlewoman Squash, Kairi Sane, Nia Jax. We had a conversation about some like tweets from Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
On
before you go, she was also liking love tweets and stay tweets.
No, I have nothing. I'll be honest with you. I have nothing against her. I think she likes just tweets advocating for her.
Yeah.
Which is what I think all professional wrestlers do. That she just likes tweets advocating for her. So I think people will sort of bring up her like tweets and be like, oh, she's liking tweets of like, oh, you should move somewhere. You should be somewhere where you're used more. I think all wrestlers probably think that they deserve the best and should think that they deserve the best. And I think eventually Kairi Sane's moment will come around. It's just she's in the clips of the other person who qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, Asuka, who
had a
just
banger.
a joy to watch.
had a banger. Had a 20-minute banger with Ruby
Was it
Riott.
20 minutes?
Yeah, two commercial breaks.
Oh wow. Okay. Yes, it was an incredible match against Ruby Riott. Asuka is qualified. I like the tone. It's Asuka, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler are currently qualifying for the Women's Money in the Bank match. I think you got a winner out of either one of them right now.
Yeah, I do you think Shayna's gonna get the briefcase? I don't like Shayna with the briefcase.
No, I don't like her with the briefcase. It's going to delay the inevitable for too long.
Yeah, like
or it could not. It could not, but you know.
Don't have her win all of the gimmick matches that the women's have. You know, like. Yeah. She can't win the Elimination Chamber and Money in the Bank. You know, it's just not going to work. Like, I don't like that idea. I would like
Go ahead.
I would like for her to beat Becky, but then the only way she loses is a cash in. That would be fine with me.
I think, yes. I think Asuka's the most credible threat and the most annoying, and someone who will obviously hang the briefcase over their head with dancing a little bit while she's doing it. Be like, oh, I have the briefcase, don't you see? Doing all the dances and stuff. But she's also a credible threat who could legitimately choke you out if she could. So, I mean, to be honest with you, any three of them could win the briefcase. It's just, I think the most interesting thing is if Asuka wins. A Money in the Bank Asuka is a much more dangerous Asuka for Sarah Logan and or Becky Lynch. I mean, not Sarah Logan, Shayna Baszler. Damn, Mike Room.
Anything, anyone but Nia Jax, please. Please, God, please no Nia Jax. You had another squash for Aleister Black this week. Again, where are they going with this guy, man? I can't wait to see. You think he wins? You think he wins the briefcase? It's so against him to win the briefcase.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't see him winning. I don't like the idea of it, but who knows?
No, I don't like the idea either.
And finally, we have Drew McIntyre versus Andrade and his crew. I thought they had a banger as well. These guys can't do no wrong together. That match went for a little while, and it ended up with Drew winning, of course, against Andrade, which led out to Seth Rollins interrupting at the end and giving him 2 curb stomps and making his intentions known that he wants the WWE title. I'm going to guess that Kevin Owens is not on the show right now because he may be with his family, which, again, like we said before, they're not required to be there. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be there. That's fine. So it looks like we're getting Drew and Seth, which they haven't had bad matches, but it's just something that we've seen before.
Yeah, it's 100% something that we've seen before. I would love, just from Drew's opening promo, he's owing a lot of everything to the fans, and he's very grateful. I understand. But I just think as a champion, especially as one menacing as you look, you need to have a little bit more of an edge, which he does. But I think he just needs to voice that edge a little bit more. We can't. WrestleMania has been over for a week and a half. Like, we can't be continuing to thank the people and you put him in this position and all this other stuff. Save that for the bump, save that for Instagram Live, save that for all the other thing. But when you're in the ring, you're a killer. You should be threatening. You should have Seth Rollins be able to get something over you really quickly. I think he did, because you kind of took your eye off the ball a little bit, and I think you paid for that, and now you should be mad. But the whole promo, I just don't want people to think yo, this guy's actually wild buns. because he's a great performer, and I think he's going to be a good champion if they continue to allow him. The Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre program, I'm 100% looking forward to. I think it's a natural next step. I'm interested if the whole group is still a group at this point.
Me too. Like, Murphy seems to be on his own thing. They didn't even mention that he was with Seth anymore during the matchup thing. Seth has been coming out by himself. AOP obviously injured. I would wonder if he would team up with Zelina, or is he just going to stay on his own? Either way, I thought he did a pretty good job on Monday night as well. Of the monotone promos that he was doing was really cool. But yeah, that was Raw. I thought it was a really good show, and we're rolling towards Money in the Bank, which seems to be happening. I'm not sure if it'll be live or not, but hey, we are in the essential era of the WWE where this is all essential. And you know,
what a name.
I can't, again, like I can't stress enough, everyone please stay safe, and that we love doing this for you every single week on the A Show. Thank you so much for listening. Please follow us at RNC Radio Live. Follow me at OGJohnny5 and Meelz at Meelz TV for all of your questions, anything you want to talk about, anything you want us to address. And we're going to try and keep it sexy and keep it going for you guys for the next couple of weeks as we roll through this pandemic. So until next week on the A Show, for Meelz, I am Justin, wishing you guys safety, prosperity, and solidarity. Until next week, peace out.
Happy Rusev Day.
And wash your hands.
Yes, and wash your hands.